Good evening, I'm Kamal Kuchi Chakalia.
I'm Danae Dutton.
And we are here with the Nubian News. This evening we're going to be talking a little about what I think is the nastiest word in the English language. And it's racist. A lot of people think it's nigger. I don't think so. We have off camera, we have a brother Lionel Lane. So he doesn't want to come on camera, but he wants to express a few things. Go ahead.
I was just going to sit back and enjoy the conversation, but I would have to say, if I can think of many words in the English language, I think there are words that are worse than nigger.
As far as the word nigger, I feel like wherever that word can be used today, where it's found to be acceptable, there's so many other words that could be used in its place that, given that word's been used to hurt.
What is a victim of racism?
I'm sorry?
What is a victim of racism?
A victim of racism.
Yeah, what do you call that?
What do I call a victim of racism?
I call it nigger. Huh? Always had, not always, but recently, in the last decade or so. Because, to me, that's what a nigger is. A nigger is a victim of racism. The main, The main thing I have is the racist. The racists. They're the ones who victimize us. They're the dirt. I can't even call them dirt, because dirt is something that nourishes.
Yeah, but that dirt has created
filth.
That dirt has created that word. I mean, it was derived from Negro, from black, but nigger. That's nothing that we made up, or we immediately associated ourselves with.
Well, we latched onto it. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of things we didn't make up. That doesn't mean we didn't latch onto it. I mean, all my life, in my home and my surroundings, I mean, I'm talking about when I say surroundings, friends, relatives, people close to me have all used the word nigger. I mean, it ain't been it was never something that was offensive, except once. This dude used it, but he was a white dude. He used it, and after I took care of him, he never used it again. Not around me anyway. So I mean, other than that, he never. But racist is the word that. The word doesn't bother me. It's the people who are the racists that bother me.
Okay, well, we gotta break that down some more. I mean, how many black racist people do you know?
None.
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 Chinese?
None.
Okay, white?
Virtually everyone I've ever met.
Okay, well, how do you define racist?
You were doing racist earlier.
Me?
You don't want to get on it?
I always thought that a racist was a person who created an environment. You had the power to create an environment that was beneficial to yourself, or I would say people like you, and not only beneficial to yourself, but it's also detrimental or non-beneficial to other people. Not that it was just good for me and benign for someone else, or no impact at all. Good for me, and it had to be bad for someone else, or I mean everyone else. So just your group was benefiting and everyone else was suffering. And there are very few people, or I should say there's only one race that I know of in the world that can create an environment where there's some groups or some people that are benefiting, and then there are people that are suffering with whatever policy that was created. And so for me, that's racism, or that's the definition of a racist. You have to be part of the group that has the power to enact certain policy. I can create rules, I can create a law, and maybe within my own household, as a head of household, I might be considered a racist. But that's my one house in however many hundreds of thousands of homes in the city of Trenton, where I don't have a power.
Is there a difference between being racist and being prejudiced?
I would say there is. It's the power. For me, racism means that you have the power to negatively impact, well, positively impact and negatively impact other people.
And
with policy. Well,
okay.
Using the policy to have a negative influence on people. Reducing their access, or creating an environment where it looks like certain people are somehow less than, when we know that's not the case. A lot of the times where people look, in this country, a lot of the less than in terms of qualifications gets applied to black people. But if we look at a certain situation, I try to tell people it's more economic than anything, because if you take the same economic situation and put it in a country where everyone is almost the same color, like Japan, the people that are food insecure in Japan, their grades suffer, or they suffer academically just like people who are food insecure in the U.S.
Food insecure.
Right, where they may not know where their next meal is coming from,
Okay.
where it's maybe a cause of just unemployment or something along those lines. But if we look at almost any poor person in any country, a lot of the things that are characterized as a black thing here happens to them regardless of their color. So when I look at the actions of racism, in this country it's easier to see because we have, a difference in color. But if we look at other countries, they find other ways to
make a social class, if you will.
Right. So it's either a class system, or they absorb people. I mean, if you look into other countries, there's always something going on with other people. We may not be able to see it, but if we look at, I use Japan because for a lot of people, all Japanese look the same, but there's actually something with the Ainu people, or Ainu people. They were absorbed into the Japanese culture, and they're fighting to keep their own culture. So it reminds me of like the fight that Native Americans have here, where they're fighting to keep their own culture rather than to be absorbed in something larger.
And I've always looked at racism as the only functional form of racism, this power thing, is white supremacy. Whereas white people dominate everything. They dominate all systems, all people activities, whether it be education or economics, the legal system, religion, war, whatever. White people dominate, and they use race as a determinant to who benefits or suffers. They use race or the absence of, they use color or the absence of color for benefits and also for suffering. And because they have the power to do what they can do, and they're the only ones who have that power, that's why I say that white supremacy is the only functional form of racism. I mean, racism, it doesn't matter what color you are. I mean, you can be a racist, but functionally, white supremacy is the only functional form of racism.